Welcome to the Weekly Juice Podcast, where we discuss all things real estate, personal finance, investing, entrepreneurship, and the many ways to achieve financial independence. We interview accomplished investors and entrepreneurs with the goal that their stories inspire you to take control of your financial future. Here to get your creative juices flowing, while also documenting their own personal investing journeys, are your hosts, Corey Jacobson and Ryan Bevilacqua.
Welcome back to the Weekly Juice. As always, it's your boys, Ryan and Corey here with another episode for you. Today we interviewed Adit Shah. He is a real estate investor out in San Diego. He, as I mentioned, does real estate development, but he also invests in hotels, which we get into that topic. It's really interesting. We thought it was boutique hotels, but it's actually like big hotels that you'd say in like Holiday Inn type style. He is also a Navy veteran and a world traveler. But one of the coolest things about his story is we get into providing value to others, and his inception story into real estate is incredible. He talked about how he had a skill set of being a handyman and could do anything from plumbing, drywall, fixing fixtures, etc. Like anything you think a handyman can do. And when it offered his services for free to pretty much anyone he could get in touch with that was a big time real estate developer in San Diego when he left the Navy. And I don't want to spoil the story, but that's how he got his foot in the door with real estate, and it's helped him scale his portfolio and just do incredible things.
Giving his services away for free. We emphasize that in the episode. Like, what are you willing to do to get in the rooms with people that you want to be like? And Adit is a prime example. He mentioned that, he learned a lot of this in the Navy. He grew up in New Jersey, but I forget if he said he was originally from North Carolina, then he moved to Jersey and like kind of grew up in Jersey, and now he's out on the West Coast. But his ability to go from, I'm going to buy a couple properties, that he benefited from the market explosion in 2021. He made a pretty penny, and he made, a couple $100,000 by selling some of these properties. And then he wasn't immediately like, should I go buy the same thing and do the same thing and be in the same space? No, I'm going to go into hotels. And I just think you should listen to his story in the way that he matter-of-factly explains like what he did and why he did it. And you can, if you're listening, people, you can go from buying to a 2-unit to buying a hotel. It's possible. I'm not saying I didn't think it was possible. It's just like, I'm so in awe of some people that just do that. And they're just like kind of put their thing out there and like, no, I'm going to do it. I like, that's fine.
There's a small percentage of people that take the information they learn and they go put it into action. And there's other people, 90% of other people, maybe higher, that just listen to it and say, oh, that's cool. I would love to do that one day. Or that sounds great. That's an amazing strategy. He dropped everything, and he was young enough to do this. He didn't have a family to
by the way, he's 28 now.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's drop the age.
That's crazy.
He started this at like on his journey at like 23. He left. So he started in the Navy at 17. At 23, he left, and then was able to, kind of pivot into real estate, leveraging his handyman skills. And like you said, started with like the 2 to 3 units, then scaled up to hotels. This is a great episode. He's a good dude.
Yeah, we're going to stay connected with this guy. It's going to be a long-term relationship. We're going to connect him with some people, and who knows, maybe you'll see more of him through us in our coaching program later, but we should bring him in.
We should. He also talks about raising private capital. I know everybody likes that topic.
Big time.
Without further ado, let's bring in Adit.
It's time to flip the script on how you invest in real estate. Backflip is one company out there that is actually changing the game. Backflip is an all-in-one platform that gives you the insights, capital, and community to find and fund your fix and flip real estate deals. The app is completely free. And actually, the part Ryan and I love the most is you can pull comps, estimate profits for multiple exit strategies in seconds, and apply for a personalized loan all in one place. We're talking a 96% loan to cost ratio and no upfront fees. Check it out for yourself. Download the Backflip app today.
Having purchased investment properties as well as primary residences, we know how daunting it can be to find a reliable lender to secure financing for real estate in the market today. With the up and down of the market, high interest rates, and the complexity of the process, honestly, it can feel like a lot. So to help out our community, we decided to bring on probably the most important person, or one of the most important members of our personal real estate investing team, onto the show to help out our listeners. Our mortgage lender, Travis David of CMG Home Loans, has agreed to educate our community and assist anyone looking for real estate financing. Whether you're a real estate investor looking to fund your next project or simply looking to purchase a primary residence, Travis will be able to help you and point you in the right direction. So he provides each of his clients with a tailored roadmap designed to guide them through purchasing their first investment property and strategically scale their portfolios over time. So if you're looking to either purchase your first residence or maybe second residence, but a primary residence, or invest in real estate, Travis is your guy. Visit our website at www.juice-enterprises.com/need-funding to book a call with Travis to explore all the loan packages that him and his team currently have available. He'll also help assess your current situation and will work with you to map out a plan for the future. So just remember this, we can all win. This is an example we really wanted to help out our community and something we find people are lacking in a daunting process. So if you are looking for real estate financing, we have your back. Make sure to visit our website and Travis will take care of you. Quick public service announcement for all of our listeners. First off, we want to thank you all for tuning into the show, not only this week, but we've seen you coming back episode after episode. And one thing we'd really like your assistance on, if possible, you know that our content's free and it takes a lot to pump this out every week. We're really looking to enhance our overall reviews on the show. That can be on Spotify, but mainly we are looking for Apple Podcasts. If you could please leave us a 5-star review, that will go so long and so far for us. Really, when people are looking to get on shows, they look to see how many 5-star reviews that show has and the number of reviews. So if you haven't left one, please just click on our show. You can scroll down to reviews and then leave the 5-star. Even if you can write a little blurb about us, like what maybe has helped motivate you or anything that is relatable to your life, that would go such a long way for us. And then in turn, it allows us to get high quality guests for future episodes. So if there's been a motivating episode that you can really think back to and that has really helped you in your life, please leave a review because we'll be able to get someone like that on the show in the future to help someone else out. So that would be very much appreciated. And we look forward to continuing more episodes for you. Adit, officially welcome to the Weekly Juice podcast. Corey and I are so excited to have you on the show, man. We have been talking a little bit off camera. We have a bunch of mutual connections in the industry. You've come highly recommended from some of our boys. So we're excited to get to know you a bit, share your story with the audience, and we appreciate your time. So thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Absolutely, man. So take us through your journey. Start maybe a little bit pre-real estate, pre-entrepreneur. If there is a pre, maybe you started out that way, but we'd like to know, kind of how people, their journey evolved over time, where they started, and then walk us through and take us through kind of how you started building your portfolio.
Yeah, totally, man. So I was always like different from childhood, like just very, very different. I was always kind of entrepreneurial, like finding a way to sell things, make extra money while I was in school. It really started developing when I was a teenager. I had like 3 jobs plus going to high school, like 1 full-time job and then 2 little side hustles. And I was kind of a shithead teenager. I was very rebellious. I got into a lot of trouble. Got into so much trouble, my parents sent me away to live with family from North Carolina to New Jersey. So I'm from New Jersey for that reason, which has been very, very crucial in my development. I think I learned a lot of very valuable lessons and pieces of my attitude that were put together that I carry now through my life as well. And I did the opposite of every single Indian person that does. Instead of going to college, I joined the United States military. So I joined the United States Navy when I was 17. I got in trouble when I was waiting to get to boot camp. It's called the delayed entry program. I got in trouble, so I actually lost my Navy contract. Had to beg for it back. They let me back because I had a really good test score and I had good recommendations from officers on the board at the Brooklyn MEPS there. And I basically joined the military, the Navy, as the Navy's equivalent of a grunt, which is a bosun's mate. It's the worst job in the Navy. I'm very proud of that job. I did very well at it. Promoted 4 times in 5.5 years. Did a little bit of entrepreneurship while I was active duty as well. I had a handyman business that I started. So after work, I would go and do little things like patch drywall, light plumbing, and I started running into property managers, into landlords. And I'm like, how do you own this place and rent it out? They're like, oh, well, actually, it's all I do. Like this guy was like, that's all I do. I have 3 houses. I rent them out. I don't work. I was like, what the hell? That's crazy. I didn't think much of it, But I did one thing right when I was in the military. I used my VA loan to purchase a condo. And I rented out the other room. So it was a 2-bedroom. My roommate's covering most of my expenses. I'm like, wow, this real estate thing is awesome. Fast forward, I get out of the military in 2019. I start a little moving side hustle. So I got a truck, I'm moving. I'm breaking my back just like I was in the military. I'm still damaging my health. My goal was to stop doing that. So I'm like, man, this isn't working. Stumble on Bigger Pockets. Everyone knows Bigger Pockets. Completely changed my life. But I had this crazy idea. I messaged every single person in San Diego County that looked like they were doing something in real estate on Bigger Pockets, on LinkedIn, everywhere, Facebook, cold calling them, showing up to their offices, offering to work for them for free as the only thing that I know how to do. Remember, I have no education, I have no experience, I have no money, I have no connections, I'm nobody, but I know how to fix shit. So I said, let me come fix your stuff for free. I could do anything. I can hang ceiling fans. I can do finish electrical. I can do finish plumbing. I can, most things I can fix. All of them told me to F off. One guy was finally like, stop bothering me. Come to this job site. So I show up to this job site. He has me move some boxes of flooring around, sweep up, and sends me on my way. And I do that 4 or 5 more times. I ended up starting working for him for free as a handyman just to be around a real estate development. This guy was a big time developer, mentor of mine. Later, that free position turned into a paid position as a property manager and a project manager. So I got into the trenches of a 40-door portfolio that was all privately owned in San Diego County and about a dozen development projects. So from acquisition to design to permitting to construction to stabilizing to sale, I became the master of all those things, from being a handyman to now stepping up to a project manager to a property manager. So that's how I got started in real estate, basically.
So, bro, I love this story, and we're going to get into your portfolio, but you have the path that I would recommend most people take. The problem is most people are too afraid to do it. Like they won't swallow their ego enough. How old are you now, by the way?
Right now I'm 28.
28. Okay. So you were early 20s when this started, right? Like right out of
23, 24, so
okay.
Almost mid 20s.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I bring this up is, and only reason I'm relating it back to me is because I can relate to this. When I first started coaching basketball, I was trying to figure out if I could go coach at like a high level, Division I. I was a junior college coach, then I coached Division III. And I realized that at this time my entrepreneurship journey was going to take off and my coaching was just going to be doing something that I love. So I offered to coach for free at a prominent school, a private school. And the guy who runs the program is the former owner of And One, okay, the clothing brand. So him and I are now like as tight as it gets. I started out for free. I still do it for free, right? So that didn't allow me to get any compensation from that specific job. Just one of the best connections I've ever had with anybody. So the reason why I brought that up is that doing something for free, it's like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, you know your worth. Like never take a job for free. It's like, if you don't know shit, doing something for free, look at where you are. You're 28. Like you have 20 million assets under management. You're able to travel. You're able to live a life that not many can. And you did it by saying, I'm just going to work for free. And I really think for anybody that's listening that especially if you're under 25, if you take this advice in a field that you want to do, you're first of all, you're going to show the person that you're doing it for that it's like unlimited value, right? And I bet you turn around in 5 years and you're in a pretty good spot. So anyway, I wanted to mention that there. I think that's amazing.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Anything to add? I wanted to go into his story, like what the next phase was.
I want to evolve into the next story. I just think maybe just to echo your point there, a lot of people maybe they'll have the skills of like the handyman and they know how to fix things, but they're thinking, hey, I'm going to be stuck as a handyman forever. I'm a plumber forever. And not saying it's a bad thing. I know plumbers that make a lot of money, but you took it to the next level. And I think that really sets you apart is taking the action and putting your fears aside to say, well, I know that 90% of the world becomes millionaires through real estate somehow. Let me get in and just message everyone. Someone's going to give me a shot if I just keep knocking on the door every single day. And someone did. And I think it's just a nice story to highlight, or a point to highlight in your story, that, you have to do the things that others aren't willing to do to live a life that others can't. And I think you probably already mentioned that. So let's stop there and go into the evolution of your portfolio. Corey kind of teased it a bit, but all this knowledge and your day to day, it's now your like main thing. How you're synergizing your knowledge in real estate to start building your own portfolio?
Yeah, thank you. Great question, man. I ended that origin story as like, okay, now I'm a project manager or property manager. And by the way, I wasn't getting paid much. I was getting paid $20 an hour, right? This guy was getting the best deal in the world off of me. I was doing so much work, but it wasn't that much work. But so basically, I had the condo that I used for the VA loan, right? I bought that in 2018. In 2020, so in 2019, 2020, 2021, each year I did like little onesie twosies deals. I did like an out of state flip, or I did some private lending, stuff like that, saving up a little, not much, right? But in 2021, we all know what happened. The rate went to zero. Real estate turned into crypto, right? It literally like crypto style freaking gains in real estate, which was nuts. And in January 2021, before, December 2020, kind of when people were still skittish about COVID, we saw a tiny little dip in the market. Me and my friend combined our VA loans, and I took out another VA loan and bought a 3-unit. That was going to be like a house hack for us, another house hack. And we ended up in end of 2021, after being into that deal for about a year, and in my condo, both of those I sold within 3 weeks for a 6-figure profit each. So I sold the condo. I netted $103,000. The 3-unit it was a $350,000 gross profit. So we bought it for $1 million. We sold it for 1.35, split 2 ways. So I have this bankroll now, right? And then I also sold an out of state flip like a month later. So I have this. It wasn't much, but I have this bankroll now. And I'm going and I'm making offers on everything that I know makes sense, has worked for me, infill development, multifamily. But the rate is so low that I'm an Indian guy. Indian people, if something is worth $1 million, we need to pay maximum $600K for it. Not possible in 2021 in multifamily, right? So I had this massive ADHD lapse in 2021, 2022. And I built a hotel portfolio. So basically, I learned how to raise money. I went from doing 2 to 3 deals a year. And in 9 months, me and 2 friends bought $18 million worth of hotels. So that was kind of my big hockey stick growth.
I'm going to stop you there. Okay. So how? And I asked that because when you go from these small, and it's funny because Ryan and I have we haven't raised, it doesn't sound like we've raised that amount, this amount of money they have, but we've bought some property, went from a couple single family, to a duplex here and there. And then we went into the syndication space with being general partner and then limited partner too. But that's a big jump, bro. Like that's massive. How did you get people to know, like, and trust you enough, even though you've only done a few deals, to be able to be like, yeah, I'm going to park money with this dude and I trust him?
Yeah, so that is a great question. And you're left with this dilemma, right? By yourself, you can only do 1 or 2 or 3 deals, every year or 2. You can only save your way to so much. You must learn how to raise money. You must learn how to collaborate with other people. But to collaborate with other people to raise money to syndicate, you need experience. You need a track record, right? So now you're left with this chicken and the egg situation. Which comes first? The solution is simply aligning yourself with a master. So to get into real estate, I aligned myself with a development master, learned all about development, right? To learn about private equity, I aligned myself with someone who knew kind of a little bit about private equity. He had a little bit of experience, right? He wasn't a master, but a hotel master. So our hotel operating partner is a 25-year hotel experience, Cornell hospitality graduate, has managed everything from the crack motel to the Ritz-Carlton type of thing, huge wide variety of hospitality experience, multiple successful exits of owning his own hotels. We became his private equity solution. So that's how we get over the hump of credibility. Because one of the testaments, right? I talk a lot about raising money. I give people how to do it and things like that. But I always say, there's a couple of things I say. I say that, we will always make conservative, realistic projections, all that kind of stuff. But someone on the team will have done this before. They will have no, this is not going to be everyone's first time. That's not a safe way to raise money, or that's not a safe investment vehicle to be pitching to investors. But that's to answer your question. That's how you get over the hump.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to make sure I understood. You're saying that you are not taking people that would have are first time investors, you're saying, or that they've already invested in a different syndication before? I don't make sure I just understood what you were saying.
So the other way around. So if someone's investing for the first time, that's totally fine as like a limited partner. But I'm saying for someone to be a general partner or a sponsor to put a deal together and then go raise money, they need to be aligned with some kind of experience, right? For example, if it's my first deal ever and I'm like, hey, bro, do you want to give me 50 grand? It's my first apartment deal, but I underwrote it and it's really great. And I did a mastermind. Hell no. I'm not going to invest with you. You know, who do you have on your team that has experience who's actually returned money to investors? That's what I care about. So, yeah.
Okay. Makes perfect sense. A couple questions about the hotel then. Where's the hotel? And then like what type of, I don't know how open you are with numbers and stuff, but I'm very curious to know if you're willing to even ballpark some things, like what that type of investment or that property can net you. We're very familiar with Airbnb. We've brought on a couple people who do boutique hotels. Does Rich do that? Rich Summers?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had him on, but we're
his partner Sean on.
Yeah, we had his
partner.
We've had some partners on of his, and we've talked to a few people with boutique hotels. But I'm very curious to know like what this type of investment can bring you, and then also like maybe the LPs on it. Like what type of return are they getting?
Sure, totally. So hotels are very so boutique hotels are very different. I'm talking about your freaking like Baymont Inn, Days Inn, those type of hotels, right? What happened was, so we did 4 hotel syndications, all throughout the Southeast, like Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. And to give you like ballpark numbers, the cash on cash return for an LP would be anywhere from 7 to 10 per year. But the equity multiple at the end would be like a 2.3, 2.4, you know, even up to 2.6 for one of them. What happened was in 2 of 4 of these markets, the market completely took a dive. So not the real estate market, America, you know, everything's great, but that local market, in hospitality, you actually have a lot of data at your disposal. You can see what your comparable set is doing versus your property. So we had one investment where when we bought it, the hotel's average daily rate, so what they were charging per room per night was like $56, right? But the market, the data told us we could charge 75, and we did for a year, but after a year it tanked. It went to 48. So our projections just completely were wiped out. This hotel's bleeding, right? It was not performing as expected. But one thing that we did, you know, and I don't want to go off of a rabbit hole, I'll end it with this point, was one thing that I learned about syndication here is, and about myself, is how much I don't care about money. Like I realized this, like I used to say like, no, but I really don't care. Like the thought of losing money doesn't scare me as much as the thought of ruining my reputations, or even worse, losing my investors' money. Right? So I am so proud to say that I've never done a capital call through hundreds of $1,000s of bleed, right? I've also had investments that have gone great, but I've also got blood on me. And I did what I thought was the right thing, was I didn't request any money from LPs. We covered it all on our end. And we still now, after things are kind of, the dust is kind of settling, we still plan on paying at least the preferred return. So, you know,
I interviewed, I don't know when the episode's going to come out because we're organizing some things around, but I was talking to somebody yesterday about the difference between losing your own money and capital and capital from investors. And it's like, I agree with you. I would rather dump my own money into something continuously than have a reputation that doesn't stand tall on investors' money that are investing in a deal that I put together. So I totally get that. I'm curious about what your plan was with the hotel and is. Like, is it similar to a multifamily renovation where you're buying it, you're doing cosmetic, and you're basically you're doing all these renovations to it to try to get the nightly rate up, making it a nicer property, and then hoping that, or not hoping, but underwriting for for higher average nightly rates?
Yeah, exactly. So it's no different in multifamily in that you're just trying to increase the income of that asset and then sell it, right? So hotels are, unlike multifamily, are valued on gross revenue multiplier. So if your hotel brings in $1 million gross, it's worth 5x, 5 million, something like that, depending on the market. The only difference with hotels is if you have multiple profit centers. For example, my Winter Hotel in Ahoskie, North Carolina, has a bar and grill, has parking, has huge land for like truck parking, has a convention center and ballroom. So we'll renovate that, boost the average daily rate, and get income from the other sources. And partner with, so it's an independent hotel. So we'll partner with a flag like Clarion from Choice Hotels, and they'll give us a rebate for the improvements we did, and they'll boost our average daily rate. So the synergy of all these things to basically, just in any real estate asset, increase the income of the asset, thereby increase the value, and then sell it in the future.
So another thing that I'm curious about here is the management of the hotel. Whereas multifamily, if you're buying a multifamily property, you might have an on-site manager depending upon how big it is. But at a hotel, like you need like staff 24/7, right? So does the partnership hire the staff and then they take a percentage, or do you have like a? I'm curious how that works in terms of like who you put on site to actually run the hotel.
Yeah, so like my partner who's in charge of the operations, he has a hotel management company. So he's got his own systems for hiring and operating and things like that. But absolutely, you have a full-time staff, you have a manager, you have front desk, you have maintenance, you have cleaning, all these people that are there full-time 24/7 running this thing.
Cool. Yeah, man, that's pretty cool. What is you still own this property? This one that you're talking about now, you're looking to exit out of it? Like, what's the plan with it?
Yeah, so all of our hotels right now we're looking to exit out of because one, I realized it's time to exit because we need to make sure we get our investors' money back, especially for one of them that's the one that's failing. The other ones are they're all gonna be fine, but this is the one that's kind of in question. So we are looking at an early exit because it's also not fun to pull out a 5-figure sum every single month. But furthermore, I personally am pivoting back to my trench level expertise. I'm doing what I know. I'm doing what I have 100% of the time made money in that's real estate development. So I've basically closed the hotel chapter. It's closing down, and have picked up the development chapter for the last year or so.
Let's talk about the development chapter, and then I want to get into, maybe like the state of your portfolio now and what it allows you to do. I know you travel a lot, and so you've done a lot of different things. You sold a bunch, you had a big nest egg and then deployed it into the hotels. What, I guess, is it gonna, you starting back with development, is it contingent upon leaving these hotels and like closing on these deals, or are you able to just not really leapfrog but pivot and going back into development? And when you start talking about development, give us a little background on like what that actually entails. Are you starting from ground up, or what exactly strategy are you going forward with?
Sure. Yeah. So absolutely. Like, no, so my active right now, like 90% of my life is real estate development. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm raising money for. I've already put together a few deals. But I specialize in small, very small infill development. So it's taking a 2 to 4 unit property and adding 2 to 4 units to it. I build for a specific tenant avatar that I have very clearly defined, and my projects are usually meant to hold mid to long term. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit about what I do there.
No, that's good. It paints a picture, because I was thinking, when people say development, sometimes your brain immediately goes to these massive sky rises or like 50 plus units or whatever. So that helps a lot. So I assume it's not an ADU unit you're adding onto these properties. You're actually just like expanding. It's almost like an addition, or how are you, like, I guess, I don't know. I'm thinking of trying
expanding
to
the footprint of it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I'm trying, not like parcel it out, but I'm trying to visualize how someone could potentially do this.
So both. So like it's buying a duplex that has a big lot and building a 4 unit in the back. That's a freestanding new structure. Or it's buying a 3 unit and converting 2 garages. or it's buying a 3 unit and turning a 2 bedroom into 2 1 bedrooms. So it's through conversion and through new construction.
Got it.
What sorry, not to cut you off.
Go ahead.
What part of the world are you doing this in? What's your market?
This is exclusively in San Diego County, California.
Got it. Okay, I wanted to ask. That was my question because we've spoken to some people about how, because of the housing quote unquote crisis and prices being driven so high, there are certain places that it's really advantageous for you to do this, right? I was thinking about this in like Philadelphia. There's no way that they're going to let me build another unit on a building. And they're like, you'd have to go through, by the time you fucking try it to finish, it's going to be 12 years, right? Like that's just how it works. So in San Diego, if you could, people that haven't heard episodes that we've had in the past, could you give us an idea of the incentivization to do that, and how are you like working, what's the permitting process like? I'm sure it's not all smooth, but I bet that it's not frowned upon. Like they want investors to build more homes, and because homes are so expensive, this is the way for them to do it, really.
Yeah, so affordability is definitely what it's come down to. And, politicians basically have a goal to create affordable housing, right? That's how they get votes, right? And because of that, they've created all this favorable legislature. San Diego's effectively eliminated traditional zoning. You can build whatever the hell you want. That's with a very huge grain of salt. But basically, like, because of all of this favorable legislation, we've had a glut of highly dense housing, right? So like shoebox 200 square foot studios with no parking, no washer dryer and unit, no yard space. Like that's what everyone's building because you can. And you can rent them out for, in theory, on paper, $1,500. But what happens is people build 30 at a time, and then 30% of them sit vacant, right? So it fails in execution. So a lot of those projects are going up for sale now because they failed to stabilize. But I've taken a contrarian path and said that, okay, I look at this parcel, how much can I build? Well, technically I can build 25 units. I can build 25 micro units. Well, no. I'm only going to build 12, and they're going to have parking, and they're going to have yard space, and they're going to have washer, dryer, and unit, and they're going to be affordable, right? Because I know that there will never be an issue renting out housing that is at or below the median price point for rent. That's kind of my theory, and we'll see how it plays out. So far, it's played out great.
How do you find these properties that you're looking at to be able to see if the deal kind of works out, or are they all over the place there? And before you answer the question, it's interesting what you hear. I'm kind of surprised that legislatively California is investor friendly. You know what I mean? Like just based on, Texas, everyone moving from California to Texas and in Florida. But when you have a crisis like this, I guess certain things change, and I'm sure it's county specific. In California, it's huge, right? But tell me how you're finding these deals, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on the second part of what I just said.
Yeah, sure. So to find them on and off market, man. So like I literally everything that hits the market gets an offer from me. If I'm within a range, it gets an offer from me of what it would make sense for me to do that deal at. If it's a deal that hits my criteria, right? For every deal that kind of is in my buy box, they're going to get an offer from me. I get a ton of stuff off market. And lastly, I get a lot of stuff from agents and wholesalers, only because when I tell someone my criteria, I give them the promise, okay, if you bring me a deal within the next 30 days that meets this criteria, this price point, I promise you I will buy it. I promise you I'll close on it. And because I've kind of built that reputation of actually closing, the realtors bring me all the deals. Sometimes they'll even call me and be like, hey, I'm talking to this seller who has this kind of property. What would you think what would you be willing to pay for it? So I'm already in negotiations with the seller before before a price is set, so because of, just keeping my word and closing on time, I've built those connections. I don't do any of my own marketing. I did for 2 years. The legislation part, yeah, man, absolutely. Like, it's the only thing that California has going for it. We have a lot of things going for us. The weather is great. We can build whatever the hell we want, and our property taxes are extremely low, believe it or not.
So take me to the next stage here. And you mentioned, it might be teasing something that you mentioned previously in the episode, but how are you funding these deals?
Yeah, so great question, and thank you for that. 100% through private equity. So the last two deals I put together, even a step further, zero debt. So zero bank debt, zero private debt, 100% cash from investors and myself. That's how I fund them.
Very cool. So I noticed on your Instagram bio, as we were doing some research on you, and explains that you help people go from basically zero to financial freedom. And do you promote a path to wealth? Like, what's your, I guess, following up from the I help statement, like how are you helping people get this? Is it basically they're going to be lending you money and then you're going to be dumping it into deals, or is it you're showing them the path to, build financial freedom through development? What's your shtick there?
So it's both, right? So like for people, there's two types of investor avatars that come to me. Number one is the person who's just like, I have this money in Schwab making 4 or 5%, or I have this money in my savings account losing 6% to inflation rather. Can you get me 9 or 10? Yes, I can. Here, so, and they like my track record. They like my references. They like my investment philosophy. Number two is the person who is like, Adit, I have $50,000. I want to learn about real estate development, or I just want to learn about raising money and putting deals together in general. I'll invest with you, but I want an active role in your project. And I teach this a lot, right? This is basically what I teach people to do, is do what I did. But most of you, if you're listening to this podcast, that, I don't know, but I'm assuming you either have some kind of tangible skill, education, or capital, right? I don't know what your audience is, but from listening to your podcast, I'm sure that's kind of most of them. If you've got 25 or 50 or 100 grand saved up, go invest it with someone who you know, like, and trust, who has credibility and experience. Take an active role in their project. You're going to be in charge of a contractor liaison, or you're going to be in charge of running permits to the city, or you're going to be in charge of investor relations, whatever it is. Do that project, successfully exit. Now you have your name as an active role on the sponsorship of a successful project, number one. Now you go do one more like that. Now maybe you do one more like that. Now you got 3. Now you go do them on your own. So that's kind of how you get your credibility. That's kind of how you get your experience.
So with that, I know typically, at least for value add multifamily, we've seen the trajectory of a close rate is usually 5 to 7 years. So that's a long time for someone to go do one project, wait 5 to 7 years, do the next, and then basically you're saying wait 4 deal cycles to kind of start doing your own thing. Obviously, it takes a lot of time, but is there a way to learn in between, or maybe expedite the process so no, you don't have to wait through 4 different deal cycles?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the flaw of the traditional multifamily syndication, is it's so dependent on the exit. Like all of the return is loaded on the exit. All of everything's loaded on the exit. Instead, pick a deal where it's going to make money in year 1 or month 18, right? Like, not people aren't going to double their money, but they're going to start generating a cash on cash return of 9 to 15% in year 18. And you're going to issue distribution 1 and distribution 2. By month 18, you've issued 2 distributions. But in 24 months, you've issued 3 distributions. And now you could say, I've been part of a project that's already distributed per projections, So there goes kind of your experience. But to your point, yeah, like doing a deal that's so front loaded and waiting to see if people make money in 5 years, yeah, you're screwed. You're never gonna get there.
I think it's a good mix. You don't. I think you can try a lot of different things. Even when people get into real estate, a lot. How do I say this? People have said the riches are in the niches, right? And you like focus on one thing, but what we found is like you kind of have to try other things too. You have to figure out what you don't like, and there's things that you think you're gonna love, and you absolutely hate them. There's some, like, for example, we did a flip, not really a flip. We actually, it was really like a fix and flip, but we kept it. And so I thought that I was gonna hate the like the renovation part, but I found myself like so intrigued by hey, let's pick out the floors, or like I stayed there one night till like 4 a.m. repainting over what the contractor did because I didn't like it. Granted, it was a long ass night, but it's something we've been learning to like appreciate the journey more. And I look back at that, I'm like, dude, that's an awesome piece to our story, and like really put in the sweat equity. And we're talking today, we're trying to figure out like some of our best assets, your wins and losses. And that is one of our home run deals. And we really gutted that thing from nothing. And I remember we hired 1-800 got junk. We found like a diamond ring in the place. We found something, not that it was worth anything, but it was like just funny things that were found, like an old camera. And there's stories of the evolution of this place. Like we got a violation because the lady had her son living above the garage, which we told her not to, in this attic space. And he got caught like looking at the camera in the picture playing Xbox. It's just like, just certain things that are hilarious of this property, but it's performing the best. They're still there. They're great people. But we thought that was a project we were going to hate, because when we were going through, we're like, dude, this kind of sucks. Like every week having to go to the properties, the permitting process, like it was a pain in the ass, but it taught us a lot. And turns out some of the things I thought I didn't like, I actually really enjoyed. And then opposite for him, he hated doing some of the things that I loved. So we kind of found our roles and like things we like. He loves managing the money. He's great at it. And I was like, I can do some of the more hands-on stuff if we have to. But just the point I wanted to bring up, try different things. You don't have to, just because someone did X and you think that's the fastest, quickest way to wealth, give some other things a shot, because you're going to still be padding your portfolio along the way until you find the niche you're really good at.
Yeah, and I have a question here, Adit. I think you mentioned earlier that you don't really care about money, or I think that's how you phrased it. I'm very curious to know, what does drive you then? What do you really care about? I'm sure money plays a factor, right? I mean, like we all have to live, but you like to travel. What is it that you really do enjoy, and what drives you? What's your why, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So to clarify, when shit hits the fan, I care more about my investors' money. I care more about my reputation. But I absolutely do want to make money. I do care about money. I need money, right? Not that I'm like driven off of like a necessity to make money, but everyone needs money to have choices. To ultimately, what drives me, to answer your question, is freedom, right? For me, money equals freedom. And that's the freedom to be wherever the hell that I want to be, whenever I want to be, to do whatever I want to do, to not have to answer to anyone, to take on only the projects that I want to take on. If I don't want to take on a project, doesn't mean that I'm not going to pay the bills. That's what drives me. That level of existence where, it's the perfect case scenario. This deal just came across my desk yesterday. It's a good deal. I could do it. My investors will make money. I'll make money. But it has a certain things. It has these code violations that I know are going to be very, very hard to clear. Where I'm like, dude, I don't want to bother with that, because I might in July want to take 2 weeks and go travel somewhere. And I don't want to be stuck here. So I'm not going to do that deal. But guess what? My bills are still going to get paid. So that's ultimately what drives me.
To be able to make clear-headed decisions too. I think that's majorly important. If you're just scrounging by to get the next deal, you're going to say, well, I own 67 doors, but if they break even or you lose money, what's the point of owning these doors, right? And so I'm very curious about your next phase. But before we get there, to somebody who feels stuck in their situation right now, maybe they want what you are striving to get to. Maybe they not envy, but they look up to somebody who has that freedom or is getting there, and they're stuck. I'm curious about the advice you'd give them. You were in a scenario where you were working for free not too long ago, so you've come a long way. What advice would you give somebody who's like, man, I really wish I could have that freedom. I really wish I could chase that. I don't feel like I'm just in a bad spot right now.
Yeah. So anytime that you're stuck or you don't know how to get to the next step or you don't know the next step, is simply aligning yourself with someone who is succeeding at which you wish to succeed. That's simple. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already thinking the right way. You're thinking, let me align myself. You're listening to people who have what you want. But take it a step further and figure out a way to add value to somebody who has what you want. Like me, I went and worked for somebody for free. When I wanted to learn how to raise money and do syndication, I went and aligned myself with someone who was doing that and added value to them and helped them build a company around it. When I want to build my real estate empire, I align myself with investors who just want a passive return. So I'm bringing value to them. They're bringing value to me, and that's helping me get to the next level. So I would say that's the cure to any type of of stagnant feeling or state is alignment with the right people.
Yeah, I can agree with that more. And we've kind of found this along our journey too. It's a lot of people will, we've heard that before, right? Add value, and a lot of people get stumped on the other end. They're like, what value could I provide? You took it to you 10x'd it, right? You just basically said, hey, I'm going to work for free. I'm willing to door knock and call and show up to and just show my value by sweat equity. And you were in a position to be able to do that. A lot of people may not be in that same position. A, maybe they don't have the drive, or maybe B, they have, family, kids, and a house they got to pay for. And they're like, hey, I can't work for free. Like what can I provide? So just a piggyback off that. And I use the word can't loosely there. They're just not willing to make that sacrifice because it's too great for them. Another way to look at this is, what skill sets do you have that you might be able to benefit other people with? So for example, think about what you excel at in your W-2 job. Like you had skill sets in the Navy from the handyman, right? You knew how to do plumbing, you knew how to do drywall, you can do a lot of different things that people would love to. That's an everyday skill set that someone needs help with every day, if you own a property or not. So I'm thinking, for example, if you think about podcasts, content creators, people that you're following on social media that are maybe real estate investors, they might not be the best at marketing. Maybe you're amazing at graphic design, at video editing, content creation, and you could follow these people around and film what they're doing, highlight the projects that they're doing, and edit it and make it beautiful. They post it on Instagram and they grow their Instagram. And that in turn helps you raise money as the investor and show that you are thoughtful in pretty much the whole life cycle of your business, right? And for them, they're getting to learn real estate from you because they're following you around to properties, but they're also using their skill set and benefiting you. So I'm just thinking of that. I'll do a shameless plug where we've been going back and forth with video editors a lot. And if you are a video editor listening to this and you would like an extra job, why don't you hit your boys up in the DMs on Instagram, because we have been looking for one. And I think that's important because it's always like how to find value. Like, what life cycle are you going in right now? And so I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, both of you guys, what you're talking about. The internet is such an amazing, like 2024, like, God, it's so easy. And I'm not saying that from a cocky standpoint. I'm saying that from like the access that you have to people that are doing what you want to do is unfathomable. And Adit, you reached out to people, you sent all these DMs. What access would you have had if it was 1984? You'd have to literally drive to somebody's house. Like, what we're doing right now is creating this. It's very, very competitive, but anyone can do it if you have the drive. And I don't know if you have thoughts on that. Like, it is, to me, it's like there's never been a better time to try to achieve something when you can follow somebody and DM them, and there's a 30% chance they respond to you. Like, what? It's wild.
Dude, absolutely, man. Like, there's no reason you can't do anything that you want. Like literally anything, man. Like anything that you want is possible. Like who, dude, would you have thought that you would be friends with the guy who created And One?
No, I mean, no, absolutely not. And I've known him for a long time. I've known him since I was young, but I didn't really know what he did. And he just took a liking to me. And like, now it's like, if I call him, he's picking up on the first ring, like, I'll do anything for you type thing. And that's just like, that's what relationships are about. So no, I had no clue that I could be connected enough that he would like me enough but I brought value to him. He's like, yeah, I don't have to pay a coach. I'm going to help you. You're great with young kids. Like, let's do this together. And I did bring more value than I thought by doing it for free. And now it's like the mentor of all mentors for me.
And sometimes it's an interesting thing. And I don't know how to completely frame this, but you might be providing value to someone and you don't even understand the value you're bringing them. Like, I have a mentor now that I think he's just gone through some relationship things over the last couple of years and had some issues with his family. And I became like a son to him, and just like asking him questions, making sure he's all right. And I know, and it's not basic things. Like, we would talk for a long period of time. And then when I started becoming interested in real estate investing, he works in the industry. And he was immediate to be like, dude, here's all my connections. Here, let me show you this. Let me show you that. And I'm like, well, dude, why? He's like, dude, you're my boy. Like, we've had a relationship for 10 plus years, just a friendship, and then it evolved into the next thing. And we've, built other things together. So he's actually one of the people that hooked us up with that property. That was our best deal. So it's just interesting how it works. You don't know there's no black and white answer to say, hey, answer the question of how I can provide value. It's just kind of being yourself and realizing your skills and trying to think creatively on how you potentially can benefit someone else's life just by being you and doing some of the things that you're good at.
Yeah. And to go off that, right, I think before we started recording, we mentioned that we have a mutual friend, Brian Lubin, and I heard this from him. I don't want to take credit for it, but he probably heard it from somebody else. It's not original, but I heard it from him, and he said, instead of trying to be the most interesting person in the room, try to be the most interested person in the room. And that stuck with me because it's like, if you are very interested, and I don't mean fake bullshit, I mean genuine interest in somebody else's development, somebody else's improvement. And if you do something so simple that you follow up, which nobody does, if they say, hey man, I like to meet you. I'm working on this app that I'd like to see if you like it. Can you, they send you a text, you maybe take 10 minutes out of your day and give them a response, or said, you know what, I know somebody who's good at development, or I know somebody who would actually use this, like something that simple, that ripple effect of you supporting them in whatever way. I'm just giving an example, like interested in their development, interested in what they want to do. I mean, you're ahead of 95% of people that I know. Like most people will just be like, yeah, I can't help you. Like, I don't know anyone. Like, take some time to actually think about it. So a very cool conversation. I really like this stuff, and I could talk for hours, but I do respect your time. I'd like to know if people want to learn more about you. Maybe they want to invest with you. Maybe they want to just network and learn more about your story. Learn the strategies that you've learned. What do you think is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so Instagram at Housebender, like Avatar the Airbender, but Housebender, Housebender. That's the best place to get in touch with me. I do check my DMs frequently, and I've actually gotten on calls with people. So I have a goal this year to do 100 free one-on-one 30-minute conversations with people at all level of their financial freedom journey. I'm well past 100 now. I still do them on Wednesdays and Thursdays. But yeah, if you shoot me a DM, I'll shoot you a Calendly link. There's no charge. I don't sell anything, no course or nothing like that. It's just a 30-minute conversation. If you have a tactical specific problem that I can solve for you, I will.
I mean, that type of value is, most people are not willing to do that. So I think it's pretty cool. Ryan and I have a coaching program that by the time this episode comes out, we're recording it previously, but it's funny, we're doing something similar. We've probably different avatars in different markets, but we're helping people build a roadmap to building wealth. That's what we're doing. So we were doing this thing for free for so long, this content creation, and people have followed along and asked us, how do we get to know you a little bit better? How do we do this? This is what we came out with. And so you saying you do it for free, I think is like, book a call with Adit. Like, take that advice, because somebody who's built what you have and has the freedom that you have at a young age, I don't know anybody that wouldn't want that advice. So that would be my advice to somebody listening. Yeah.
And I think it just kind of proves what we've said all along here, is like, when people get to a certain level of success, they want to give back. And it's kind of where passion meets purpose and fulfillment, like they all intersect. Right. And Adit, people that come in and chat with you, it's awesome, because maybe these people will jump into deals with you in the future. It depends. Who knows where the relationship goes? So I think it's great. It's full circle. It's a win-win. And that's what we're all about here. So this was a fun episode, man. It was a pleasure getting to know you. And we look forward to staying in touch.
Hey, likewise, guys. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thanks for tuning in this week to the Weekly Juice Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, and share with friends. The more ratings we get, the more ears we'll get on our show, and in turn, we'll be able to provide you with more high-quality guests. You can also find us on Instagram at Weekly Juice Pod, where we post daily tips and tricks and document our own journey towards financial freedom. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday to get your weekly juice.